Hi there, I'm Stacy, the Encaustic mixed media artist behind Studio Stacy. Encaustic literally means to burn in. So I paint with beeswax and a torch, and because it's mixed media, pretty much anything else I can get my hands on. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Consider subscribing and joining this artsy community. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, which helps me get introduced to more like-minded artsy folks like yourself. Morning all, back in the studio, and I'm back to the big old box of Encaustic whips. You probably already saw me flipping through that box. I've picked out 3 kind of small, well not kind of, but small paintings, and I'll flip the camera around here in a second and show you what they look like. But I've got the edges taped up. The wax is heating up. It is very chilly out, so it's taking a little bit longer for this to heat up. So I think what I'm gonna do is probably pick some colors out on these paintings, and let me flip the camera around and show you the paintings. And all right, here are the 3 paintings. And you can tell this really is not my style of painting. These are old kind of vintage houses in the background, and then these are collaged girls that I had made art journaling way back in the day. And I thought when I made these 3 I would try collaging them onto an encaustic painting, and yeah, they just did not work out whatsoever. So I'm completely scrapping this entire idea. I have no idea where it's gonna go, but I'm pretty much gonna cover up most of this. And so what I'm gonna do, I think, is there's like some greens. I think you can tell if the camera will focus. There we go. Some greens and pinks in this girl and in this girl. So I'm gonna pick out some greens and pinks and go with that, and I don't know, we'll see where it takes us here, but I'm pretty much gonna cover up all of this. I don't know if I'll leave any of the house peeking through or not, but yeah, we'll see. And I know to some of you, you may feel like that these were a complete, you know, waste of time, if you will, these paintings. If I'm just gonna cover them up, you know, what's the point? But to me, the panels are good, so why not, you know, reuse the panels? And while I could scrape back all of these layers, I think it's just gonna be easier, and I think it'll still add some dimension to the paintings, because the beauty about encaustic is the layering process. At least that's one of the things that I find enjoyable about encaustic, is the layering process. So yeah, I don't feel like it's a complete waste of time that I did these paintings and that they didn't work out, and that I'm gonna pretty much cover them up completely. Just part of the process. All right, so I don't have a pink that I'm real happy with. So I'm gonna mix a color, but I wanted to show you, in case you aren't familiar with this, it's a color mixing guide, and I don't know, it might be by Golden. I'm not sure, I'll look to see here in a second, but it's really cool, and it has like a list of like the various different common colors of paint. I'll flip the camera around and show you. It's probably easier to show you than sit here and talk in your ear about it. All right, this is what it's called, the Magic palette. So it's not by Golden, it's by Magic Palette Ink. And this is the back of it, and it kind of shows you how to use the chart and things like that. But if I flip it over here, hopefully it's not too much of a glare. And oh boy, it's not going to focus very well. But basically it has a list of colors down on the bottom here and a list of colors on the side. So I know I want to mix up. All right, I'm going to try to cover up the glare here, but I know I want to mix up this color right here. So basically follow it down to what this is, which is the cadmium red medium. I know you can't read this. And then I follow it over, and this is quinacridone red. So I know I need to mix quinacridone red with cadmium red medium to get this color. And you know, you can do that with various other colors on the chart. If the glare would go away, you could see it a little bit better. But if I can find a link for it, I'll link it down below. But I just wanted to point this out in case you're unaware of it. It's a really cool kind of cheat sheet, if you will. And obviously, you know, there's a million other colors you can mix up other than what's on here, but it just gives you a good jumping off point. All right, a couple quick things before I forget to mention them. If this time lapse is a little bit painfully boring to watch, I do apologize. I actually was planning on sticking the red down during this time lapse. However, I had decided that this surface was really extremely textured, and if you've been here a little while, you know I always like to start with a fairly smooth surface, because especially with these, I have no idea where I'm going to take these, what's going to be happening. And when you start with a smooth surface, it's a lot easier to add texture to. If you're already starting with a textured surface, you're almost kind of stuck with that texture. It's harder to smooth out the further you go along. And as you kind of finalize details and things, it's really hard to smooth out that texture without obliterating the rest of the painting. So at this point in time, I decided to smooth all that texture out, kind of fill in any divots. Hence, that's why I brought the clear Encaustic medium over and started filling in any of those kind of holes and divots to get a nice smooth surface before I put this red down. And before I add green to this paint palette, as you can see, I have way too much red on here. I put way too much red down to mix together. So I am going to take that red off of the palette and stick it onto another Encaustic whip. I pulled this out of the box again, taped up the edges, and yes, it happens to be another lovely pear image. So once again, I'm going to cover that up. No idea where this is going to go, but I think what I might do going forward, unless I work on this next, is just keep this panel out and use it kind of as a palette cleanser, if you will, and then just stick any extra paint colors that I have left over from the palette onto here, and yeah, we'll see where it ends up in the end. But just wanted to mention those couple things. I thought these were looking a little too Christmassy, if you will, so I mixed the pink and the green colors together to make kind of a neutrally orangey brown color, and I think that does help with these. So just a little bit of a hint for you all: if you mix your colors that you're using in the painting, especially if they're complementary colors, and kind of make a mud-ish, if you will, color, then it just kind of is a nice neutral to add to your paintings. All right, I am calling it for today in the studio. I'll flip the camera around and show you what these three paintings look like now. And yeah, I'll pick you back up. I'm not sure what my schedule looks like. At some point in time next, I'll pick you back up. I was gonna say tomorrow, but I think tomorrow I'm editing video and looking into art shows. So at any rate, it doesn't matter when I'm gonna pick you all back up. You don't care about that. For you, it's just gonna be a few short seconds. But I will pick you back up and attempt to finish these in the next studio session. So see you in just a few. Morning all in the studio, and I only have about an hour. I actually have my alarm set on my phone because I have to get back over to the barn dominium and do some stuff over there. But I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you what I'm thinking of doing with these three paintings. All right, so I took and traced around each of the paintings. You can see there's a line here. So I'm thinking of putting them vertically, obviously. And I've sketched out a dogwood tree branch onto these. And I thought about scanning it into the computer and doing an image transfer. But I think what I've landed on is creating a stencil out of this and then using it with the encaustic paint. So I have this red plastic, really thin plastic, and so I'm going to trace it onto here and then attempt to, sorry about that really bad glare there, attempt to cut it out of this plastic. We'll see how this works. I'm not 100% convinced, but yeah, we're just going to experiment and see what happens. All right, I've pulled out this very old cutting board, very used cutting board, And this is a heated knife. It's the same heat tool that I use with the Encaustic writer, except I've turned the heat up. I'm gonna practice just cutting a couple lines to see how it's gonna work. I'm hoping this is gonna work because I'm thinking it'll be easier than just using an X-Acto knife to try to cut through all this, but yeah, we're gonna find out. All right, well, I didn't quite get all of that cut out. I have one little section left to do on that, but I do need to call it. My alarm has gone off exactly 2 minutes ago, so I need to get over to the barn dominium. I have a meeting that I have to get to, so I'm gonna go get to that, and then I'm thinking gonna apply to some art shows. I have a few narrowed down, but yeah, sometimes 2 hours in the studio doesn't look like a whole lot, which is basically what I spent in here today. I spent about an hour sketching that out, and then another hour-ish, a little bit more than an hour, cutting these out. So didn't quite get it all done, but it's getting there. And I figured this way, that little bit left to cut out, I can cut that out while the wax is heating up. Hoping to get back over here tomorrow. I have an appointment, so I'm not sure how long that's gonna take. It's actually an eye doctor appointment, so who knows how long that's gonna take and if I'm gonna be able to see afterwards. So I'm hoping to get back over here though. Today's Monday, on Tuesday, so we'll see. No, on Wednesday, I should say. Tuesday's the eye doctor. Anyways, you don't need to know my entire week schedule. I will pick you back up in just a few seconds for you all. See you then. Good morning all. It is now Thursday, so I think it's been at least 2 days. Yeah, I think I last picked you up on Monday. It's now Thursday, back in the studio, ready to finish cutting out the stencil, and then hopefully using the stencil with those 3 panels. So that's the plan for today. The wax is on. If you hear that clicking in the background, that's what that is. And yeah, ready to start the day in the studio. Been a strange week. Maybe we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, eye doctor appointment didn't go that great. Lots of tests have been run, and I'm going to see a specialist in about 2 weeks' time. So they're squeezing me in, which is great, but yeah, just hoping nothing major is going on with the autoimmune and with my eye. So time will tell. At any rate, I am not going to focus on that. Going to focus on painting and getting this stencil cut out while the wax heats up. It is also quite chilly outside. Yeah, it's warming up and then dropping way back down next week. So anyways, also not here to talk about the weather. So yeah, let's get to working on this, shall we? All right, the stencil is cut out, and now comes the nerve-wracking part. Hoping to see if this works out. Fingers crossed. I've used stencils before in the past with Encaustic, but not in this particular manner. So we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you my setup, and then what I'm probably gonna do is stick you on time-lapse, just so I can focus on seeing if this is gonna work out. So, but taking you along, so you're gonna see right there with me if this is gonna work or not work. But let me flip the camera around first and show you the setup. All right, here's the setup. I've got part of the stencil here, and that's the bottom half, and then here's the top half of the stencil. And I'm gonna start with the bottom half, which is why it's on the work surface over here. And I have the 3 panels set up how I think I'm gonna have them go. So this is the bottom one, middle, top, of course. I also got out the heat gun. I'm not gonna use the torch with this process, and I'm hoping that the heat gun is gonna be all right with this plastic. hopefully I won't, melt plastic. So I'm going to be pretty cautious about that and very aware of the process. And then I have Encaustic medium over here, which I don't think I'm going to need a whole lot of, or any. And then on the griddle, I've got my white paint, which I think I'm going to put down first. And then I'm going to attempt to mix up a pink color slightly different than that. But I'm going to see if the white works first. So wish me luck. There's the setup. All right, stencil didn't work out too horribly bad. The only thing is, let's see, here there's some kind of messy spots where the paint kind of seeped through a little bit, which I expected it to do. So, but it's better actually than what I thought it was going to come out as. However, I don't think it stands out enough from the background, mainly because I don't think I mixed up the right color pink. That's on me, not the stencil issue. So I'm going to clean up a few of these areas first, and then I have a couple other ideas. And I think the key to experimenting and messing around with this is just to not be afraid to completely mess it up. And it's just paint. We can easily scrape it back, paint over it. I mean, you saw what it looked like to begin with. So yeah, don't be afraid to completely screw something up, I guess. All right, my first idea is to take a bit of some pan pastel, this pink kind, and stick it over portions of this just to see how that comes out. All right, well, clearly the pan pastel did not show up at all. I think it's pretty much almost the same exact color pink. So I'm gonna try some gold leaf next, and I've used a gold leaf with Encaustic before, but I've never tried to cover just a specific area. It's been kind of like more sporadic on a painting. It's kind of like I didn't care where the gold leaf got applied or didn't get applied. I was just kind of adding it in as a bit of the background. Where this, I'm gonna try to put it just over the branches and leaves of this dogwood. So we'll see how this goes. I think the gold leaf definitely added something to it, but it's still not popping out enough. So I'm gonna try something else. And I think you could tell with the gold leaf, like it's kind of sporadic, and it can be a little bit finicky to use, but I think it definitely adds something, and I'm happy with how that came out. And I didn't want to cover the entire leaf, just portions of it, but still it's not popping off enough. So let's try something else. If you've been here a little while, I love these Stabilo Marks All pencils, and I simply wet them with a little bit of water, and then they write beautifully over the surface. You can also kind of rub them out a little bit to add a little extra shading, and they're also great for making fine line details.
So I go back and forth between this pencil, adding in some more of the green wax, adding in some more kind of background colors to cover up the red until I'm pretty happy with it. I didn't film this entire process because, well, it's just creating more of the background, which you've pretty much already seen me do. So to keep the video a little bit more concise and short, I edited that out.
All right, all. I think I'm going to call it today in the studio. I'll flip the camera around and get you some close-ups of this painting. I think it's good. I'm much happier with it. But I'm going to leave the tape on, and future me might regret this decision, but I'm going to leave the mess out here in the studio as well. Leave the griddle with all the paint on it and stuff just in case. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, but I think I just need to let it sit for a few. Anyways, I am going to let you go here for this one. Thank you so very, very, very much for coming along. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down there below in the comments, of course. And yeah, we will see you on the next one. Thanks again, guys. Bye for now.